So as I mentioned, I get the pleasure of introducing Miss Elaine Swann, and she is the founder and CEO of Swann School of Protocol. She's pioneered the first ever Black and female-owned etiquette licensing program. Her model includes over 30 independently owned Swann schools nationwide. As Americans' leading lifestyle and etiquette expert, Elaine's been featured on major platforms like The Today Show, CNN, Access Hollywood, and Kevin Hart's What the Fit. I said what the fit, okay, just so everyone heard me. She's been showcased in Fortune, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Oprah Magazine, Essence, and Real Simple. With 4 etiquette books, including Let Crazy Be Crazy, Elaine advises prestigious businesses like Merrill, Cisco, Bank of America, and lectures at universities like Stanford and Wharton. Everyone, please welcome me in joining Elaine Swann to the stage. Got it.
To whether a handshake is back, is it an appropriate greeting? Has that come back? So check out Elaine Swann.
Hi Rachel, I'm Elaine Swann, founder of the Swann School of Protocol, and I'm here to share my tips on business etiquette, whether you're working from home or from the office.
Elaine Swann, lifestyle expert and spokesperson for OA. So thank you both for being here.
Etiquette expert Elaine Swann gave us some tips on Access Daily about how to politely greet someone while avoiding handshakes and maintaining a healthy distance. It's all about body language.
So here comes someone coming towards you, and you can say, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. But you're keeping them away. Keeping them at arm's length.
Let me bring in etiquette expert Elaine Swann. She joins us now via Zoom.
That chivalry is gender-free.
Elaine Swann is an etiquette expert and founder of the Swann School of Protocol in Carlsbad, and says the Me Too movement has affected today's work culture and the way men behave around their female colleagues.
Hello. Hello. Hi. How are you? What's your name? My name is Elaine Swann. Oh, wow, that is beautiful. Yes, like a swan. Yeah. Very nice. So that is not a proper greeting.
So, of course, that gets swap and sometimes lend itself to some tricky social situations. So why don't we navigate that with lifestyle and etiquette expert Elaine Swann. Elaine, you're here to solve our problems.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So help do that right time of year.
Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Good afternoon, ladies. Good afternoon, ladies. Good afternoon, ladies. Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Happy International Women's Day. It's so wonderful to be a lady today, right? And to the gentlemen, thank you for being here and supporting us too. We certainly appreciate you. And yes, just after Elke, I want to shout out a few people. Candace, thank you so much for inviting me to be here today. I certainly appreciate it. But a big, big, giant shout out goes to Blythe Boubian. Blythe is my PR manager. Blythe, standing up here in the corner. Bless her heart. She gets run ragged dealing with all the media requests and so forth. And so Blythe, thank you so much. It was Blythe's idea to bring me here to Montana, and she's been such a gracious host, and so I appreciate her. And I appreciate all of you all. I know you're all happy to be here with one another today. The clicky thing is, here it is. All right, fantastic. So with that being said, you know, what I want you to do right now for just a quick moment is just take a look at the lady next to you and greet her today, just ever so briefly, just with a kind of a hello. Just say hello. A nice, polite hello. Fantastic. Next, what I'd like for you to do is greet her as if she was a long-lost friend that you haven't seen in a really long time. Excellent, excellent, fantastic, fantastic. Now I'd like for you to turn to that same neighbor, that same partner, and I'd like for you to greet her as if you just won $50 million. All right, all right, all right, fantastic. Excellent. Well, you know, this is the thing. That's how we really should kind of have the energy in terms of greeting people. I have spent, believe it or not, this is my 21st year in the etiquette industry. I've been doing this. Last year I celebrated 20 years. Yeah, that's a really cool thing, right? It may not look like it, but I'm almost 60 years old. I'll be 57 this year. I know, right? Yeah. The black has not cracked yet. It hasn't. Not yet, not yet. So I'm hanging on in there. So I've been in the etiquette industry for 21 years now, and I tell you, it has shifted and it has changed, and I have such a pleasure sharing this information with folks because we're not your mom's etiquette lady. I mean, the pearls are great. I'm going to have some pearls on, but the pearls of wisdom that we're dropping now is very, very different. And when you think about etiquette in the workplace, there's a very distinct reason, and there's some research behind it. I won't read the whole thing, but I'll grab the last sentence. Take a picture of that. The bottom line is this particular study here in the Journal of Applied Psychology, what they found is that we're generally tolerant of bad behaviors in the workplace, but they're actually very harmful. They're very harmful to our well-being, they're harmful to us as individuals, and all of that not only impacts the workplace, but also how we show up at home as moms and wives and sisters and aunts and godmothers, and so it's really harmful. So that's why it's so important to have etiquette and protocol standards in the workplace, right? A lot of times people think, oh, you teach etiquette, great. I'm so happy I know how to use my knife and fork at the table. I'm like, honey, listen, before you send that email, read it twice. Okay, yeah, that's what we're talking about here, okay? So here's the thing. I was interviewed by the New York Post, and this was quite remarkable. There was a study that came out that said Gen Z canceled what they refer to as the hostile thumbs up emoji, right? And they said that there was a list of 9 other emojis that Gen Z said they wanted to ban. Now, I don't know if Gen Z that's in the room, I don't know if you were part of this survey or if you feel offended or not by the emojis, but in the workplace, it can be a little bit challenging to communicate that way. So my recommendation, as I shared here in this particular interview, is to make sure that when you're in the workplace, instead of trying to use emojis where people have to decipher and figure out what you meant by it, use words because they come across better. But we're going to talk about that more in just a little bit. Right now, because of what our world looks like today, we have multiple generations in our workplace, all right? So we've got the baby boomers, right? They're known for their strong work ethic. They're loyal to their employers, right? A lot of them are thinking about retiring right now, too. They're kind of transitioning. We've also got Generation X. And these folks here, they're characterized as, quite independent. They adapt well, right? Kind of fall in there. They're in their prime working years, right? Okay? And a lot of the folks who are Generation X, these are the folks that are holding a lot of leadership positions in the workplace right now. Millennials, we love millennials. We love you. We love you. We're not here to beat up on millennials. We love you. You're known for being tech savvy. Your entrepreneurial spirit, which is really, really great, and your desire for work-life balance. Now, folks, millennials make up a significant amount of the workforce, and these folks are now increasingly going into leadership roles in the workplace. And then we also have Generation Z. Those are the ones who canceled out that emoji, okay? They're just entering the workplace. They're digital natives, meaning they came up in a digital world, all right? So the millennials were initially dialing up with right. But not the Generation Z. They came up swiping already, right? So they know how to swipe. And then they're expected to bring really fresh perspectives. And so in all of this, I think we can all find some value if we don't belong in this category. So let's just take a poll because you all know a little bit about me. Well, let me tell you, I am married, and my husband, I like to call him a tall drink of water because he's really cute. I didn't bring a picture today. But since you heard a little about me, I want to know who's in the room, all right? So you ready to get cheering? Let's get you cheer. Okay. Let's go. Baby boomers, let me hear you scream. Say hello. One more time. Baby boomers, say hello. All right. Generation X, say hello. Hello. Millennials, say hello. Generation Z. Yes, very good. Is Sheridan Generation Z? Sheridan, there we go. You know what, Sheridan, I've had the greatest time. Sheridan, stand up, honey. Give her a round of applause. Listen, I've had the best time talking with Sheridan, and I actually even worked her into my speech, and so you'll see, you know, Sheridan's a rock star to me. Okay, so there's some things that we see differently as far as being in the workplace is concerned, and there's a lot, right? So we're gonna go through these. It's our communication styles, the use of technology. We look at things from a different perspective. The work-life balance is very, very different based upon what generation you're from. Feedback and recognition. The way a boomer would see it is very, very different from the way perhaps someone like a millennial would see, right? Approaches to leadership and that leadership style, career development and advancement, and then adapting to change. For some folks, it's very difficult to make that shift. For others, easy peasy. Let's go ahead and shift it right up. So these are the areas that I work with individuals or with companies. I go into companies and I work with them large and small. Companies as small as 15 all the way up to 200, where I'll walk with them and help them figure out how to bridge this gap. But we're not going to cover all this today, okay? That's not going to happen. But there is something that's very significant. The thing is, how do we bridge the gap, right? We give each other a little grace. Give each other a little grace. And we're going to break this down today. The thing I want to kind of talk about first is, why is bridging the gap an important factor? Why do we have to do this? Why can't I just go do my job and go home and leave it alone? Well, for the folks who are entrepreneurs or business owners or folks who are in leadership in the company, the reason why is for productivity and organizational success. Each organization, the business exists to make an impact and make money. And that money is either to help others or to grow whatever the brand is. And you cannot be successful if people are not getting along. If there's a disconnect, it's not going to happen. And so this is why it's important for us to bridge this gap. But like I said, we're not going to talk about all these things today, but I'm going to talk about one that's really important that I believe that you all can take back with you today to help you in that, and that's communication styles. As far as all of the generations are concerned, we all communicate differently. Each generation communicates in a different way. So how do we make that all make sense? It's like a spidery web. So how do we make it all make sense? So we're going to start with communicating with grace. The first G is for gain understanding. When things are difficult and you find that there's a disconnect between individuals and you look and you see, okay, you know what? First of all, who's having the challenge here? Is it two coworkers who just don't like each other? Or is there something that's broken in the way you're communicating? So you want to take a step back and gain understanding. You might have to have a conversation with someone else. See, sometimes we start getting things in our mind and we think, this person is annoying me, they're getting on my nerves, I just don't like them, or they're very difficult. Every once in a while, you have to bounce your thoughts off of someone else and connect with someone. I love to say, seek wisdom from those who are not afraid to tell you who you are. So that person that you're having a challenge with, you're having difficulty communicating with that individual, don't just try to figure it out in your own head. Go to someone who you believe is wise. Someone who can give you some advice. Not to your girlfriend that's going to just be your rah-rah cheer. That's right, girl. Get them, girl. Tell her, right? Not that person. right? You want to go to the person who's going to call you to the carpet and say, you know what, you're not quite seeing it the same way. Or perhaps have you thought of it this way? So when you meet that communication impasse with the individual, of course, do that soul searching, but get some understanding from someone else. Share it from their perspective, or share it with someone else so they can see it from their perspective. This way you understand, okay, got it. Now you can go back to the person and talk with them and learn, how do they prefer to be communicated to? What works? You know, there was an instance, and this is funny because, of course, with boomers, love to talk on the phone. Call me, please, right? And, you know, there's one company we were working with, and there was just a real big disconnect in this particular group here. And sure enough, the issue was the method of communication. And so what needed to happen in the particular group that I went and worked with, once I walked in and worked with them and did an assessment and so forth, I discovered that in that instance, the boomers was the reason why the emails, and you probably had this right, you write this long, beautiful, well thought out email, and the person responds, got it. Right, and you're thinking, what? Can I get a little bit more? Well, the reason why is because that particular person, the way they preferred to communicate was just in a more personal manner. And so when they looked at the long email, they thought, okay, long conversation. So gain understanding. Once you understand how a person prefers to communicate, you'll be able to work better together. All right? So that's our G in grace. Next is to respect differences. Folks, we have to respect one another. That's one of the core values of etiquette that we talk about at the Swann School of Protocol, that core value of respect. And respect doesn't mean respect only your elders. It goes both ways. It goes both ways. And so what we have to do is look at an individual and say, okay, we're different. Now, you may just only want to correspond via phone. I don't like that. That's not something I prefer to do. So how do we coexist? What do? You figure out a way that's going to work as far as you're concerned. Maybe you can say, you know what? When we're working on this particular area or project, because you have more input, we'll talk on the phone, we'll have a conversation face to face, we'll hop on Zoom, whatever it is. But when I need something really quickly, can you just follow up with a really quick email? All I need is for you to say okay. There's an organization I work with, and the email communication was a little bit challenging for the two folks who were communicating. One lady kept sending emails. Actually, it was kind of like the whole group. Kept sending emails to this one gal in this apartment, and all they wanted was, you know, they wanted a response. But my question to them is, what do you need to hear? What do you need? Because when she responds to your messages, because she was kind of the gatekeeper that kept things going and so forth, when she sprung, what is it you need from her? And they said, well, actually, she's the person that's taking care of it, and all we need to know is that she got the email, and I can now get this assignment off my desk. I don't have to think about it anymore. And I said, bingo. So here's what we do. For this one who feels like she's too busy, she communicates in a different manner, here's what your team needs. They just need you to say, got it, or received. They just need to hear from you. So you have to respect their request in some way, form, or fashion. Now that organization in that particular department is working like a well-oiled machine, because the folks who needed the answer, they're like, good, we can keep them going and go on about our way and do what we have to do, and then they know that the work is no longer on them. So having that level of respect is really, really important in the workplace. Adaptability is so, so important. The thing about excellence is not necessary in action in terms of being able to adapt with excellence, but it's more of taking up a position or an attitude. That attitude is, I don't mean attitude like, girl, not that type of attitude, but attitude, the position that it takes. I was a flight attendant for 10 years for Continental Airlines, and the plane had to, in order for it to take off, it needed to adjust its attitude, right, in order to get up into the air, right? And, and so with that, we needed to be able to do everything, all of our checks and balances and so on and so forth, and looking up the aisles, or the seatbelts fastened, and folks looking, and we're looking to see the bags. Oh, you want me to give you a little inside thing here? You know how when the flight attendant is going up and down the aisle and she's checking and looking to see if the seatbelts are fastened and the tray tables are up? Why do I know that still? So long ago. Anyway, there could be like a random person and the seatbelt was unfastened. And you thought, how did she see that? How could she see? Well, guess what? We're not only looking at the seatbelts, we're looking at the passengers, because there's always a tattletale. So what we do is we're making eye contact with the other passengers. So we're walking up the aisle and we're looking, and there's always someone that does this. And they tell on the passenger next to them. They do this. Yeah, and so that's how we know. We say, oh, can you please put your tray table up? Or your bag needs to go under your seat, right? Or whatever it is. But we're looking. And so the attitude, the position has been adjusted so that things can be seen clearly. Now they can be fixed. And you can do this in the workplace. Sometimes in terms of our attitude, we may be too close to the situation, which is why we get frustrated at work. So you have to shift. So let's everyone stand up. And I want you to get a little bit of space behind you. Just a little space behind you. Now what I'd like for you to do is put your finger out directly in front of you, just like this. So the folks of you way in the back of the room that can't see me, just look at the person in front of you. Yep, we're going to use that. All right, so you all have to speak to me. Speak back to me, okay? You ready? All right. Can you see your finger? Yes. Can you see your fingernail? Yes. Can you see the lines and the wrinkles in your finger? Yes. Okay, now bring it just a little closer to your face, not too close. All right, stop. All right, now, can you see your finger? Yes. Can you see your fingernail? Yes. Can you see the lines in your finger? Yes. All right, now bring it a little closer until you touch your nose. Can you see your finger? Can you see your fingernail? Can you see your fingernail? Sort of. Can you clearly see your fingernail? Can you clearly see the lines in your finger? All right. Now, be very careful. Take one step back, and I want you to just keep your finger on your nose, but move your head back and release it from your nose and bring it all the way back until your finger comes back into focus. Now, can you see your finger? Can you see your fingernail? Can you see the lines in your finger? You changed your attitude. You changed your position. You changed your perspective. You shifted so that you can get a better view of what's taking place. You adapted to that environment. This is what you have to do to bridge the gap of communication in the workplace. You have to shift. Too often, we're so close to things we cannot see. When you change and you shift and you adapt, you have a better perspective. You're not always looking at just that very thing. The flight attendant is not looking at the seatbelt, she's looking around her. Use what's around you in order to communicate more effectively. Clarify. This is where things get muckety-muck. It's not really getting clarity on what's happening. You can have someone that's making mistakes all the time, and this is where conversations have to actually take place. Because we can make an assumption about a difficulty that a person is having. Oh, she's just lazy. She's not doing what she's supposed to do because she's lazy, or she's distracted, or she's a millennial and she doesn't care, right? I'm not buying that. But you have to get clarity. So when you find that you're having difficulty communicating and you've identified that it is in a generational perspective, right? then this is where you have a conversation or you bring someone in and you utilize whatever you can to get clarity. And this is where you're going to ask the person, can you share with me what your thoughts are? Or what are you thinking when this is? Or is there a reason why you cannot remember to do this step? Can you share with me what you're thinking? You're asking a question, an open-ended question, instead of going to the person and saying, you're not doing this correctly. Get clarity. Because once a person the door is open for them to explain, then you're clear on exactly how to proceed. And then you can create an actual plan. You know, there's a healthcare company that I worked with, and it was challenging for whatever reason. Whatever they're supposed to do, they take the healthcare company, they do home care services, and so all of the home care workers were required to chart each day and then submit, and they were doing so through an app. One of the gals, actually it was a little less than a handful, were not charting through the app. And it was causing conflict. The conflict was there. The company thought it was something else and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So there was conflict within there. So they brought me in and I started working with them and went through our process and everything. And what we discovered in that process was there were folks who just they weren't catching on to the app. They weren't. It was just a challenge. And here's the thing, folks. Don't think that it's generational only boomers can't work apps. That's not true. That's not true at all, because you have folks in other generations. Well, not these not these little ones. They can, not the swipers, right? Right. But there's folks who are just a couple who are in Generation X or what have you. So. The problem is they weren't charting. They weren't charting because they couldn't work the app. And so the solution that we came up with is to do something a little different. Guess what they could do? They were very, very capable, this handful of ladies, they were very capable of taking a photo, doing their charting on paper, taking a photo and sending that as an email. They could open up, not an email, as a text message. They can open that up and send it right away. So for this company, in order for them to build the insurance companies and so on and so forth, the solution was for the folks who can't do it, let's have a little bit of empathy and say, okay, you know what? We need to get the job done. We have to be successful and build these insurance companies. So what we did with them is we said, take the picture, send it in, and then the folks on the other end are the ones who went ahead and added that information to the insurance billing, because that was going to happen anyway. Because the insurance companies, they want it loaded into their system different ways or what have you. And so the fix is the companies still got to make money, but we created a situation and an environment that was adaptable and also being empathetic to the folks who couldn't get it. Because your question then becomes, okay, so what are we doing? Are we going to penalize these folks because they just can't get it? Are they going to lose their job? Now, again, we're talking about productivity. So how do we keep the business productive? How do we make sure that we're successful and we're generating the revenue we're supposed to generate so that everyone wins, right? So that was a great solution that we had. And every organization is completely different. The challenges in the organization are different, but the roadmap to getting to a solution remains the same. Have a little grace. Treat each other with a bit of compassion and tender loving kindness, and follow these things. Gain understanding. Respect your differences. Be adaptable. Make that shift. Clarify your intentions. What is it you want to do? What are you trying to achieve? What is it you need from me? Is there a reason you're asking me to do this? It's not making sense to me on why I have to do this step every time. Can you spend an extra moment and just share that with me so that this way I understand why you need to do this? And then, of course, empathy. The bottom line, folks, is that this is just the world that we live in today. It's not going to go away. 25 years ago, when cell phones first came out and they were a thing, when I first started, we were telling people, do not bring your cell phone into the restaurant ever. It's inappropriate. Leave it in the car. That would be crazy right now. We all need to, hey, you would have to pry that out of our clutches, right? That's not accurate. So now as etiquette professionals, we're saying, yes, bring the cell phone in to the restaurant. Yes, you can take photos of your food. And yes, you can take photos with your friends, right? Do you want a cell phone tip for cell phone etiquette for the restaurant? Okay. So here's the thing. Nothing belongs on the table except for food. So your cell phone does not go on the table when you eat, all right? Doesn't go on the table. It goes in your pocket, it goes in your bag, but it doesn't go on the table, all right? If you're expecting a call, because a lot of times we've got little ones at home and we're expecting a call, the cell phone can go on your lap with the napkin on top. Aha, fantastic place, right? Very good, very good. Well, you know, I shared with you that Sheridan was so great. Sheridan shared with me, and this is, I thought, was so great. And this is where I want you all to kind of really think about what our world looks like. Sheridan was one of our, Sheridan, so blessed. She shared with me that one of her coworkers is an 81-year-old woman who works with the chamber and had 40 years, is it, Sheridan? 40 years. 81 years old. Give her, she's not even here. What's her name? Dee. 40 years. So she retired. So Dee retired and got bored and came back, right? And so now she's just there part-time, but she's there. And Sheridan said, I love her to death. And but this is a really unique story that Sheridan had told me. They left it to go run some errands or what have you for the office. And when they were out, Sheridan said, well, Costco is right over there. You want to go get a Costco hot dog? And Dee says, well, wait a minute, because we can't go back. What about the folks at the office? We have to be back. And she says, no, Dee, the office environment is not like what it was 40 years ago. It's different. There's some flexibility there. So you have to see, this is her mindset. Now, Dee came back out of retirement just because she wanted to, but look how committed she was to the process. And so when we start to look at things from another perspective, from other people's perspectives, then we gain that understanding on what it looks like for them. Do we have time for questions at all, Candace? Oh, we do. So Candace tells me that we have time for questions. She's got one. Now listen, this is your chance whether to ask questions about anything I've talked about today or maybe some other burning question, all right? So don't be shy because I'm getting on the plane tomorrow and I'm going back to San Diego. And so you're going to, and when you get your questions answered, you'll be like, listen, I know the right thing because that black etiquette lady, she told me this is how I'm supposed to do it. So this is your chance to ask the black etiquette lady what you're supposed to do, right? So if you have questions, just pop up and Candace is going to hop on over here. I love questions. Now, I do have to warn you, your question might end up on social media. I might blog about it. I won't give names or anything. So yes, indeed. All right.
Hello.
Yes.
Suzanne. And I have the pleasure of being the Dean of a College of Business. And we put a lot of effort into career development for our students. And this wasn't a set-up question. This is a true question. I know you've written several books.
Yes.
If you were to recommend one of them for a soon-to-be graduating college student, which would you recommend?
Oh, my word. Soon to be gone. You know what? There's this book that I really love, and the reason why I'm saying this is because with colleges, I come in at the universities and I work with the business students and teach them the business etiquette, the dining business etiquette, and I think it's so important because business meetings take place over a meal. Sometimes you attend banquets and so on and so forth, and I try not to look at folks when I just don't. But it's so, but when you're in that one-on-one or what have you, it's very important. There's this book that I really love, and it's a really quick read because college students, they don't like. It's a really quick read, but it's great for men and women. But it's called A Gentleman at the Table. And it's a quick read. It's about dining and business dining and so forth. And I love that particular book. And I would say book Elaine Swann to bring her to your college and have her speak to your students.
All right, thank you.
Right.
Okay, Liz Markey, I'm coming. So I am the baby boomer, and I got the email 2 weeks ago that said, congratulations, you've been on LinkedIn 19 years. So most of you don't even know LinkedIn's been around 19 years, and frankly, I didn't either. But one of my core beliefs has always been I respond to people. And, and as an angel investor for years, we said no most of the time, but we always try to do it with some value add. I am really struggling with LinkedIn today because I know half of the things that come to me are chat bots or so how do you manage that core commitment to responsiveness in social media?
Certainly. That's such a great question, and I'm going to release you. You are absolutely released to only respond to real messages. You do not have to respond to the chat bots, to the sales calls. It's annoying when you connect with someone and the first thing they do is they send out this long thing. You do not have to respond to those. All right, so you have been released. All right, any more questions? Someone's going to have Candace run to the back. Listen, ladies, this is your chance now. Okay, here we go. All right, yes.
Okay, my question is, I'm terrible at names. Terrible. What is a very eloquent way of asking somebody again what their name is, even if I just met them?
That's great. All right, such a great question. And I even had thank you for your bravery, because clap 2 times if that was your question too. See, very good. All right, so the answer to the question is this: just ask. You have to ask the person. But here's how you take the sting off, right? You're talking to them. You've seen them a million times. You should know them. They've said your name, so now you're really embarrassed, right? And you say, you know what? I know we've talked a million times. I even remember you from somewhere, and I know you just said your name. Can you remind me of your name again? My name is Elaine Swann. What's yours? So you take the sting off by letting them know that you recognize them. Also reintroduce yourself so that and some of them go, I know your name, but just reintroducing yourself in that moment kind of helps just a little bit. But you do have to ask. There's no magical way to get the person to say their name. It's a little uncomfortable in that moment, but just embrace the awkward and ask the person their name, all right? Okay, very good. Oh, she snapped. Okay, here we go. And for anyone that's in the back, just stand up and wave your hand if you are in the back or the middle, what have you, so that way you can stand now to give Candace a chance to kind of get over there, because there's another microphone here too, Candace. And then Trace, we have, I don't know what number mic this is, but give Chase a round of applause back there, our sound guy. Thank you, Trace. He said he was here working with you all yesterday too, so that's fantastic. We really appreciate that. As Candace makes her way over. Oh, was it here? Oh, okay. Oh, you have the mic. Okay. All right.
So today, work looks different, where people can bring work home and always be working. What would you say are your top tips or tools for etiquette, for when to answer calls, what types of things to take? Dogs barking in the background. There's definitely a lot more blurry of a line with constantly working now. So just couple of tips or a couple highlights on, proper things to do and when not to answer the phone or when to answer the phone.
Fantastic. All right, couple of things. Number 1, teach people how to communicate with you. You must put up your boundaries. So figure out what your work life looks like for you. If that work life means that I shut it down at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then do not answer any calls or take emails or respond out of those hours, all right? So don't do it. You have to put boundaries on yourself. One of the things that I do with our licensees, the folks who we train individuals and they launch Swann schools in their city, is we tell them to also carve out a space in their home too, so that way they can come and go, even if it's the corner of a table. So that's number 1, carve out that space, but teach people how. So if someone sends you an email on a Friday and eventually they will recognize that they're not going to hear from you until that Monday. If they send you an email after hours, then they will also recognize, oh gosh, she just never responds. Nope, I don't. Don't do it. There's some instances where maybe you're all hunkered in, and there's definitely some flexibility that is needed in certain instances, but pick and choose what that is. And let folks know, because after a while, people will know, they'll get used to it. They'll know, well, let me go ahead and send this out. I know I won't hear from her until tomorrow. That's one. Now, dogs and children and so forth in the background, you'll have to play that click game, the mute game. Click. You're there talking, listening to online mute. Everything's going crazy in the background when you know it's nuts, right? And not everybody wants to see your dog, right? And sometimes we have the little ones on our lap, and that's really cute too. Sometimes. Be mindful of your coworkers. Pay attention to the body language that is on screen as well. So that's one thing. So keep that in mind. Dress from head to toe. You know, even if you've got on some really cute loungewear or something, but don't try to do the half mullet sort of thing. It's the cat will knock over the laptop or the child, or you stand up and bend over and everybody see all your stuff, right? So don't do that, but just dress from head to toe. Doesn't matter. Have a look, some sort of look that you have. I know Blythe and I, of course, I live in California. She's here in San Diego, and so we meet every Monday like clockwork, and sometimes my ponytail is this way, sometimes it's that way, sometimes I got a hat on, but I try to be presentable every time. And so that's one of the things that you can do as far as that appropriateness is concerned. And the other thing I want to say about video conferencing, folks, read the room, number one, pay attention to body language. But number two, video conferencing etiquette would dictate that you have your camera on when you're communicating with people. Turn your camera on. There are some instances where you may have to turn it off because you are somewhere and this meeting was not planned or whatever, right? We've got stuff. But let the leadership know if you have to speak, then say that. Throw it in the chat really quickly at the beginning. I apologize. No, not apologize. Thank you for allowing me to have my camera off. Right? Thank you for allowing me to have my camera off. I'm on vacation right now, right? Whatever that is. So, but have that camera on. It's annoying. This is the conference table, but it's virtual. So show up. And it's respectful to other people. It shows that they've taken the time. I have one. Who's the timer? I don't even have a timer. Okay. Okay, no more questions. Listen, book me to come and answer questions. Book me. My last thing, start your video conference meetings on time. Respect the people who have showed up. Do not sit and wait for the last person to come in. Start your meeting at the appropriate time, and you make them miss out and be afraid to miss out on whatever it is because they didn't show up on time. So bottom line, take a picture of this. I'd love to connect with you all on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you on any social media platform. Any of these, I love etiquette questions. And as Candace said, if I may repeat after Candace, yes, I am absolutely available to come and work with your team. I work with teams that are large and small. So please do. Blythe, raise your hand, wave your hand, Blythe. Reach out to Blythe there. Contact Candace, contact me. I'm here. I just want you to make sure that you approach everything you do with grace and style. Thank you very much. I'm Elaine Swann. Have a wonderful afternoon.